Chapter 1. The 80-20 Principle. Imagine you've been working tirelessly, yet feel like you're not making much progress. You're running on a hamster wheel. This is where the 80-20 principle steps in. A revelation that 80% of what you achieve comes from just 20% of your efforts. Richard Koch introduces this concept and reveals that life, work, and happiness are not balanced but skewed. The challenge is figuring out that high-impact 20%. The key, he says, is to recognize that doing more doesn't equal achieving more. Instead, focusing on the small things that produce the largest results will change how you approach life. It's about cutting through the noise, simplifying your tasks, and learning to prioritize what truly moves the needle forward. Koch reminds you that it's not about time management or working longer hours. It's about working smarter. Start by asking yourself, what are the few things that lead to the biggest outcomes? Chapter 2. Making a great life. Koch then tells you that this same principle doesn't just apply to work. It also defines how you can live a happier, more fulfilled life. What if your greatest joys came from just a few select activities or people? Instead of chasing happiness through endless experiences, he suggests zooming in on those few moments or relationships that spark joy. Your task is to identify those high-impact experiences and give them more of your time. This means simplifying your life, letting go of what doesn't matter and amplifying what does. As you begin to remove the clutter, mental, emotional, or physical, you'll see that less is more. Simplifying not only clears your space, but also clears your mind, making way for the things that truly matter. Chapter 3. The 80-20 Principle in Work. In the workplace, it's not about putting in endless hours or getting stuck in the cycle of busyness. Koch shares that only a handful of tasks really make a difference in your career. He explains that you should focus on these high-value tasks, whether it's a key project or a relationship that will yield the most results. By identifying the 20% of activities that bring 80% of your success, you can increase your productivity without burning out. The solution is to delegate or eliminate the rest, so you can concentrate on what really matters. Koch encourages you to work with intention, aligning your strengths with tasks that propel you forward. Chapter 4. The 80-20 Principle in Money. Money follows the same rules as work and life. Koch's advice is clear. You don't need to micromanage every penny. Instead, focus on the big decisions that yield the largest financial gains. It's about making a few smart investments, cutting back on excessive spending, and ensuring that your financial efforts are directed at growth, not just maintenance. Rather than trying to control everything, he suggests a simpler approach. Spend wisely and invest in things that grow over time. Koch encourages thinking long-term, so you can set yourself up for financial freedom rather than constantly juggling small, less important financial concerns. Chapter 5. Simplicity. The key to success and fulfillment. At this point, Koch brings the conversation back to simplicity. He tells a story of how simplicity is often the key to success in both work and life. Overcomplicating things often creates unnecessary stress and distraction. He explains how decluttering, both in your mind and environment, can clear the way for your most productive self to emerge. When you simplify, you focus on fewer things but make more progress. Koch emphasizes the importance of cutting down commitments and activities that add little value. It's about doing fewer things but doing them well, allowing you to fully enjoy and excel in what truly matters. Chapter 6. The 80-20 Principle in Relationships. Koch explains how relationships are no different. A few key relationships bring the most emotional support and happiness, while others may drain you. He encourages you to focus on nurturing those deep connections with people who matter most, letting go of the relationships that bring more negativity than joy. Koch shares stories of people who simplified their social lives, cut out toxic relationships, and found they had more time and energy for those who truly added value to their lives. By focusing on the key relationships, you'll find greater emotional fulfillment and less drama. Chapter 7. The 80-20 Principle in Happiness. Next, Koch takes you on a journey into happiness. He invites you to think about what truly makes you happy. Most people, he says, chase endless activities and goals, thinking that happiness will come from having more. But the truth is, happiness is found in a few small things. Once you identify those moments that bring joy, whether it's spending time with family, a hobby, or a walk in nature, focus on them more. Coke encourages you to reflect on your life regularly and make adjustments so you can spend more time doing what makes you happy and less time on things that don't. It's not about being busy, but being mindful of what brings joy. Chapter 8. Time Revolution. Time, Coke explains, is not a resource to be wasted. He takes a look at how much of your time is spent on low-value tasks. The same 80-20 rule applies. A few activities bring the most rewards. The trick is to recognize these high-value tasks and spend more time on them, while learning to say no to distractions. Coke shares that the time revolution involves focusing on fewer tasks that truly move the needle in your life, giving you more time to relax and reflect. By managing your time effectively, you can increase both productivity and happiness. Chapter 9. The 80-20 Principle and Contribution. Coke believes that making a contribution to society or to others follows the same principle. You don't have to try to fix everything or help everyone. Focus on a few key areas where your talents, passions, or skills can make the biggest difference. Coke shares stories of people who, by concentrating their efforts, made a far greater impact than they would have by trying to do it all. He suggests finding your strengths, honing them, and using them to contribute meaningfully to the world. The sense of purpose that comes from this focused contribution, he says, leads to greater fulfillment. Chapter 10. The Living 80-20 Way. In the final chapter, Coke wraps it all together. Living the 80-20 way isn't about doing more, but about doing less with more purpose. It's about constantly evaluating your life, work, relationships, and time to ensure you're focusing on the 20% that brings the greatest returns. Coke encourages you to embrace simplicity, mindfulness, and focus, allowing you to live a life that's more relaxed, more successful, and ultimately more fulfilling. By following this principle, you can create a life where you're not overwhelmed but instead fully engaged in the few things that truly matter.